In this tutorial, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about automation in Ableton Live 10. Okay, so what is automation? First off, automation is basically a way to control different parameters in any of your instruments or effects within Ableton without actually having to manually control them. So if we wanted to control the filter frequency of a synth like this, manually, you can see that we'd have to do that with multiple hands, and unless you're an octopus with millions of hands, that's impossible. So what we can do with Ableton is actually program in what's called automation to do that for us. So let's go through everything you need to know. I'm going to be using arrangement mode because I tend not to use automation in clip mode, which is here. I don't use clip mode much, so we're just going to be doing it in arrangement mode. Make sure that automation mode is selected with this button here. And you can select that by pressing A on your keyboard, and it's going to turn it on and off. So all you have to do is right click, then press show automation, or you can press show automation in new lane, and it just shows it below, which allows you to automate several things at once. So for instance, we could automate the pan, and it's going to show it underneath, and we can just press this little arrow to hide them if needs be, and then show our automation lanes. So let's have a listen. We can hear the filter opening up, but there's also some other automation going on. So what else have I got? I'm actually automating the send amount. So we're automating the amount of room reverb on our auxiliary channel that's being applied. And this is the great thing about automation. You can do loads of things at once. And then that allows us to, have a million things happening at once. So that's the basics of what automation is. Now, if you tweak something whilst you've got some automation already programmed in, like this filter frequency, you're going to see this button here turn on and go orange, and you'll see this little line here, this little dot, turn from orange into grey. And that basically means that we're overriding the automation temporarily. Now, until we click this button again, it's going to go back to the automation we got programmed in. So if we move this like so, and you can choose from these drop down menus which automations are showing, and the ones that you've got programmed in have got these little orange dots next to them, which makes them nice and easy. So the top is the actual unit, so the effect unit or the synthesizer or the sampler, and then below that is the actual parameter itself. So here we can see we've got this, which is the frequency, but if we move this frequency whilst it's playing, these lines will go white instead of orange, and then it's not going to actually go back to what we have programmed in until we press this button here. Cool, so they're the basics. Next thing we are going to look at is the different lines that you can use in Ableton Live 10. So you can do a nice straight line there, and you just double click to create a node. So you can do loads of different nodes if you want. But you can also hold Alt on your keyboard and then drag the line to make a slope. So you can make it an exponential curve or a logarithmic curve, and that just gives you a bit more control over the exact shape that you want. Okay, next, copying and pasting automation. Now the default is if you select your clip and you press copy and then paste it, it's going to copy the clip and the automation. If you just want to copy the automation, then you select it here rather than selecting the whole clip. You can select it here and then paste, and it's just going to paste the automation. See, the clip hasn't been copied. Or if you want to copy the clip but not the automation, you just press this little lock thing, and that locks the automation. So we can then paste the clip, but you'll see that automation hasn't been copied from that first place. But what happens if you don't want to draw in the automation like this, and you'd rather record it either by assigning some of the parameters to your MIDI controller, or you just want to tweak the parameters manually with your mouse as you go? Well, the way you do that is you select the overdub button here, which means that you're not going to be recording over your MIDI information. You select the automation record button here. You make sure that the track you want to automate is armed, like so, and then you just press record, and you'll see it adds nodes in as you tweak the effects like that. Two more things. One is that you can use macros to control multiple parameters at once, or automate multiple parameters at once. So if you grab everything that you want to automate in terms of instruments and press Command and G, which will group them into an instrument rack. If you press this little button here, you can see that you've got these macro controls. And all you need to do then is, well, we'll select map to macro 1, and we will map something else to macro 1. And we'll map something else to macro 1. This is going to be really weird, by the way. I'm just giving you an example of what you might do. Let's do the dry and wet on that to macro 1. And then you can just automate this one control, show automation in new lane, and it's going to control all of these parameters just from this one automated knob. So one automated macro. So that's one thing that you can use, is a macro. The other thing I wanted to show you is that you can, and I've just ungrouped that. The other thing you can do is you can automate third-party plugins as well. They don't have to be the plugins from within Ableton Live. So if you were to use a filter like the Sugar Bytes Wow filter, this is the effect that it has. You know, it's just a nice filter. If you want to automate that, you just press this little button here. You press configure, then you hit the parameter you want to automate, turn off configure, and boom, there you have it. You just right click, show automation in new lane, and then you can control that automation too. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about automation in Ableton Live 10. If you want to see how I've made the track, click on the link there, or you can just download this project and all the samples completely free below this video. I really hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments what you want me to cover next week in my Quick Tip Tuesday. And until Friday, when we've got our next In the Style Of series, I will catch you then, and cheers and happy producing.